think I'm a believer that everything we go through in life is for a reason. And there's things that happen that you're like, God, why would this happen to me? Why would I have to go through this? And what I've learned is that the reason we go through it is so that we can help someone else. So we can look someone in the eye and say, I've been through that. And they're like, no, you don't know. And it's like, no, I know, I've been there, you know? And I think the most important thing in life is giving back to each other and helping each other. So for me, you know, speaking with women in prison, whether it's, you know, younger girls, older women, it's really about pouring into them and letting them know that there is something around the corner, no matter what they've been through, no matter what's been done to them, no matter what they've done or where they've been, that God always has more for them. And actually, the things that they've been through that are negative, He will turn around and use for their positive. But they have to have the mindset and the perception to try to see it that way and begin to do the work so they can meet God halfway, and He does the rest from there.
Now, talk to me, you're so driven and obviously pushing yourself to be better all the time, and you know, we all get to watch you improve and grow every day, every role. So how do you take that yin and yang of love yourself exactly right now today, exactly as you are, and yet also it's okay to strive and want more and to push yourself to be better?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I always want to continue to learn. I think that all of us will be learning to the day that we die. And I want to be the best version of myself. And I'm always on a journey to that. I've gotten to a place of like, I'm good with who I am. I'm great about where I am right now in life. But I want more. I want, when I leave, to know that I used it all up, that I did everything that I was supposed to do, that I touched or impact or allowed myself to be touched or impact in every single way that I was supposed to. Because, you know, life isn't just short, it's also very precious. And while we're here, I think it's important to literally be everything that we were called to, and to walk away one day with them there being nothing left, you know.
Leaving it all out on the field, basically. That's amazing. Yeah. I want to talk about your process for learning. So that's really intriguing. So looking at your career, you've never been afraid to try something new, to break out of the confines, not let people put you in a box. And I love that you start out feeling like, I don't know if I can do this, which is where I think we all live most of the time with all the things that we want to do. It's just that most people, because they're so afraid that they won't be able to do it, they never take that first step.
Right.
What advice do you have for people? Like, what's your learning process? What are the walls you ran into? How did you put yourself in a position even to run into a wall?
Right.
Like, who do you begin to ask? Like, where do you start? Is it a Google search? Is it calling a friend? Like, what is that? I know nothing about it. I just know I need to learn about it.
Yeah.
What's that process?
I think it's kind of just what you think. It's like, okay, let me Google the information. Let me ask a friend. Let me read a book. Let me see what this person did. Like, how did Jennifer Aniston do it? How did, you know, Reese Witherspoon do it? Like, following and looking at the stories and following kind of the yellow brick road and then putting it together and what it means for you. Like, with directing, I literally walked on that set petrified. And honestly, every time I direct, like I just directed my first movie in July, and every single time I walk on a set for the first time, I feel like I'm gonna throw up. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And then it starts to just come to me. The more I trust myself and I trust my instincts, and whenever I get scared and I'm like, okay, is this the right thing to do? I just go, you know what, I'm just gonna commit to this is the right thing to do. And if it's wrong, I'll figure it out. And if it is wrong, it's like, okay, now I learned, and let's keep going. And so for me, obviously courage is not being afraid, it's being petrified and doing it anyways. And so that's really how I try to live my life, is just keep pressing forward and trusting my instincts, because what I do know is my instincts are unique and they're mine and nobody else has them. So the more I trust what I put into the world, the more I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
How do you handle grief in all of this? So a door gets slammed in your face, and sometimes it's gotta suck at a really real level. How do you process through that and get moving again?
For me, in the beginning, it was like very devastating and frustrating. And then I just fixed my mind to just say, like, what's for me is for me. No one can take it from me. And what's for someone else is from someone else, for someone else, and I can't take it from them. And that's how I taught myself very early to not compete with other women, and just, you know, I want to see them win, and what belongs to them, I can't take it, and vice versa. And so in terms of the grief of, you know, the frustration of certain things not working out or not being fair, I just fixed my mind to say, okay, so sometimes these things aren't fair. And I have a choice. I can be mad, I can be upset, I can be hurt, I could be, jilted and have a chip on my shoulder, or I can choose to say, let me just do what I can do to change things for the little girl behind me. Let me continue to push forward and be very thankful and happy for the things that I do get a chance to do, because I could be doing something else, I could be working somewhere where I'm not happy and not doing the things that are really in my heart and not following my passions, but I get to follow my passion every day. So to be grateful and to be humble and to have my perspective really be about, I am thankful to do this. This is exciting. And to not get upset. If it was mine, I would have it, and so I've just changed my mind about how I look at it and how I think about it. And of course, there's those roles you go in for, and you're like, I really wanted that. But I just choose to say, you know what, I'm gonna get really excited for who did get it, and get excited for the thing that's mine that's coming. So
I love that you say that's a choice.
Yeah.
That you choose to be excited for the other person. I think that's really strong. Your attitude and the way that you carry yourself and all that make you a hero to a lot of people, first of all, and then a lot of young women especially. Yeah. You've said that your mom is your hero.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Mommy. She's amazing. Sorry, I'm gonna cry. She just, she's done so much. She was married when she was 19, and my older brother, he stopped breathing when he was a baby, and he got brain damage. And she raised him by herself. And then she got remarried to my sister and I's father, and they were together for 10 years. And then my dad was LAPD for 26 years, and he was, constantly working. So she raised me and Lamaya by herself. So it was me and Lamaya, my older brother, Colbert, and then she adopted my younger sister. And she raised all of us by herself. And there were times where, we had this 3-bedroom house and we had one extra room built on the back. And I look up and 18 people were living with us, because my mother would literally take in everybody and literally care for everybody. And she really gave me that heart. But she is just an incredible person. She's a lover, she's a giver. She's given every last thing that she can to my sister and I, to my sisters and I and my brother. And she's just my hero. I just love her and appreciate her and know I wouldn't be here without her. And when I was a kid, me and my sister asked her, do you think you could quit your job and maybe manage us so we could do this full time? And she did. Wow. And by the grace of God, we were successful at it, but she had to know in her heart, and she had to believe in us enough to say, this is gonna work out. Because who in their right mind quits their job and it's like, I believe my kids can do this, unless they really have faith. And she did, and I'm sitting here now because of it. So
you put a quote up from Martin Luther King Jr. that said, faith is stepping on the first step when you can't see the rest of the staircase. Yeah. How do you, or maybe what did your mom teach you about that? Like, what does she say about taking that leap of faith in that first step?
It's interesting because the way my life is framed is it is literally that quote. Just doing what I do every day, it's a faith walk. It's a faith walk that I'm gonna do well. It's a faith walk that I'm gonna have another job. It's a faith walk that I'm gonna go in the direction I wanna go. Every time I get off a movie or a TV show, I have to have faith that I'm gonna get another job. I have to hope and pray and believe that I am. And so my mother just taught us very young that if you have the faith and if you do the work, that it'll happen.
So one thing I know that you learned early on, and I love that it ties back to your mom. So your mom says you have to have the faith and you have to do the work.
Yeah.
And you said you learned early on from doing TV what work ethic really is.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the power of doing the work, of work ethic. Why does it matter?
It doesn't, it's interesting. It sometimes it happens without it, but I don't think it sustains without it. And what I learned is, it's like even with Shazam, like I decided 2 years prior that I wanted to be a superhero. I was like, I want to be a superhero. I want that to happen. So I'm just going to start training for it. And so I started training. I started learning Taekwondo. I started learning capoeira. And I just started training with the trainer like 5, sometimes 6 days a week for like 2 years straight. And then it just happened. you know? And it was interesting because I fully expected it to happen, but I think sometimes we are more comfortable hoping and praying than when it actually happens. And so I just learned very early that for the things that I'm wanting and believing, I just have to do everything possible that's within my power. And there's some things that aren't within my power, and that's where I trust God. But what isn't within my power, it's whether it's getting the proper sleep, whether it's learning your lines, whether it's researching the character, whether it's watching movies for reference, whether it's picking a subject matter, a person to study, or working out, or eating healthy, or, you know, whatever it is that you need that's gonna make you better at what you wanna do. It's doing every single bit of that you can possibly do, and going above, you know, not just doing just enough to get by, but going above. And then after that, it's like, if it's supposed to happen, it will happen. And chances are, if you do the work, it likely will happen.
Talk to me about going above. This is an area for me that I think is where all the juice happens.
Yeah.
People either do enough, as you say, or they really go above and beyond. And the way that I explain it to people is your job, whatever you're trying to be great at, your job is to leave other people in awe. And nothing else will do, because that's the nature of the human animal. The only thing that they're going to remember is something that really hits them and really leaves them with that moment of like, whoa. Yeah. How has that served you, and how do you get to that level?
Mental toughness. As my trainer, Mike T, would say, you know, when we first started working out, for the first year, he would always say there's going to be a point in time where that mental toughness kicks in. And I didn't know what he meant. And what it meant was when you've done everything that you can do and you really